Coming up on Mountain News this morning, crews in Bell County spent their Wednesday preparing for the possibility of overnight flash flooding.
And in Knox County, some roads are already covered, and flood victims from last week are anxious as rain continues to pour over the region.
Dedicated to eastern and southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Good morning. The time is 6:33 on February 13th. I'm Madison Pergram.
And I'm Will Puckett. Thank you for tuning into Mountain News this morning on this Friday Eve.
On this Friday Eve, and rain still coming across the region, but we do have 3 or 4 clear days in the forecast coming up. How does that make you feel, Will?
If only it had snow in the forecast.
Let's go to Brandon. Brandon, so rain continues throughout the day, but we do have some light coming through.
Oh yeah, and Will, listen, let's just get out of the moisture for a little bit. Maybe we'll get some snow.
I'm always dreaming of snow. I know. Can't get it out of my head.
But we got too many people suffering from high water and all that mess and soaked ground, and just let's get out of the moisture for now. We'll dry out. There might be some snow next week. Not really, but let's take a look. Live pinpoint Doppler radar this morning. You can see heavy bands of rain still working through the area in the Big Sandy counties, parts of the Kentucky River, Southwest Virginia. But the good news is for our neighbors in the Cumberland Valley that were hard hit this time last week, things are starting to dry up some. So that's some great news there. Flash flood watches continue for eastern and southern Kentucky until 7 a.m. and for the surrounding counties and the surrounding states until 10 a.m. Temperatures will only drop today. We reached our high at midnight as a cold front comes through. We'll eventually get into the 40s by this afternoon. And again, it's just going to be a day that we're going to continue to see some nicer weather, at least from the skies clearing. Maybe not the temperatures, but the skies will clear as we head deeper to the afternoon. That's some great news. I'll talk about the extended forecast here in just a little bit. Will?
All righty, Brandon, thank you. Well, we have been keeping a close eye on the hardest hit areas from last week's flooding, the Cumberland Valley. Earlier this morning, Connor James joined us from Bell County, where things were fairly calm. He is now in Harlan County, where he is talking to county officials about the situation there. Connor?
Yeah, good morning, guys. Judge Executive of Harlan County. Now, Dan, we were talking just a little bit ago, kind of a fortunate morning when you think all things considered, especially compared to last week.
Yeah, we're very blessed this morning considering what we experienced last week to be able to get through the night with more of a soaking rainfall rather than a torrential rainfall. Even though there's still a lot of water in the ground, we've picked up about here in Harlan where we measure about 1.8 inches since noon yesterday, which is much, much less than what we received this time last week.
Definitely, and obviously there's still some more rainfall looking into further in the day. So what are you kind of keeping an eye on as we go further into today?
We've been monitoring the river all night, just watching the gradual increases, and we're still a few feet away from flood stage here, and with the rain moving out, we feel really good about where we're at, and we'll just continue to monitor that, and then the levels in the area where we have to pump from here in the city of Harlan to make sure that the city doesn't flood, and so we'll continue to monitor those, but right now we feel really good about where we're at.
Definitely, and you don't just have a busy day here in Harlan, you have kind of a busy day in general. You'll be going to London to meet with Governor Beshear to kind of talk about some things in regards to this flooding. Can you kind of talk to me just a little bit what you guys might hit on?
Yeah, the governor's come to the region today to assess the flood damage for himself, and we appreciate his coming to look at the damage himself, but also for declaring a state of emergency so that, we declared last week the morning of, and then the next day the governor declared, which opens up Harlan County and other counties that have been impacted by this for federal relief. And so our damage assessment teams have been out documenting all the damage to not only public infrastructure, but also to homes that have been destroyed as well. So his declaration is able to tap into federal resources, and he's coming to get a briefing today on that. We really appreciate him taking time to come and see what's going on for himself.
All right, thank you, Dan, and thanks for kind of talking with us throughout this week, as obviously there's been quite a bit of flooding and flooding damage throughout the Cumberland Valley. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right, well, we're going to send it back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Connor, thank you. And again, thank you to Judge Executive Dan Mosley. He's one of our hardest working judge executives, and he's like many of them throughout the region who have just had some long days and nights. And to all of those judge executives, thank you for everything that you do. Well, to Knox County now, where some roads are already covered and emergency officials are urging you to be cautious. Here's just off of Wind Hollow Road. You can see 459 is covered. A parent who lives nearby said it looked like an ocean yesterday morning and buses would not run. One flood victim in Barberville said she was not prepared last time, but was surprisingly calm. She does not think it will be that easy this time around.
I'm afraid this water's going to come up again, and if it does, it will scare me this time.
In speaking with the captain for the search and rescue in Knox County, he urges drivers to pay attention to road signs. Turn around, don't drown. And when you think you can make it, you can't. Remember, you are not only putting your life at risk, but you're putting others as well.
And we now know the funeral arrangements for Ronnie Bryant. Crews in Whitley County found him submerged inside his car this week. Bryant's visitation is Saturday beginning at 11 until the funeral at 2. All services will be held at Van Kirk Griswold Funeral Home. Any donations can be made to the Woodbine Volunteer Fire Department to help flood victims.
Water at the Cumberland Falls fell to just under 22 feet yesterday, but with more rain moving in overnight, officials projected it to rise 6 feet to moderate flood stage. With flooding issues along the river, Whitley County Emergency Manager Danny Moses says people need to keep a close eye on flooded roads.
And meanwhile, crews in Bell County spent their day and night preparing for possible flash flooding throughout today. Officials expect that any high waters will result in more flash flooding than river flooding, like we saw last week. Crews estimate they performed around 90 water rescues into the weekend and pray they do not have any more. But they are watching the water levels and are ready to go whenever needed.
And then there are also the small creeks and streams that run down the side of the roads. It don't take a whole lot for them to cause a problem with the road or something like that, ditches.
Emergency management asks that no one drives on roads where there is water, as often it is much swifter and deeper than it looks.
Well, thousands across the region are waiting to see what damage this rain brings. Yesterday, we caught up with officials in Harlan who are ready to spring into action. The American Red Cross has set up their home base in the Harlan County Courthouse, where they are helping Harlan, Knox, Bell, and Whitley counties. They have been doing damage assessment and passing out emergency supplies in the affected communities.
All we can do is try to provide the best resources that we can, give them that initial assistance, that immediate assistance, so that they can start taking those steps towards recovery in the future.
The shelters will be reopened when they see a need. The shelter in Harlan is at the Harlan Baptist Church. There is another shelter on standby at the National Guard in Williamsburg. Well, the Lexington Church is stepping up to help flood victims in Harlan County, and it's not the first time they have answered the mission to serve the area. Heritage Baptist Church is collecting all kinds of supplies. You might remember they helped during the Black Jewel protest. They have joined the group with love from Harlan. The donations will be brought to Eastern Kentucky this weekend. Well, take a look at this map here. We want to make sure that you know that the American Red Cross, again, has 2 shelters on standby as the rain continues. The first one is in the city of Harlan at Harlan Baptist Church. That is at 120 West Mound Street. The second shelter is located in Whitley County at the National Guard Depot at 215 Hurricane Hollow Road in Williamsburg. Anyone in need of shelter can call the Red Cross hotline at 859-428-8345. Again, that is 859-428-8345. You can also call 1-800-RED-CROSS.
And another earthquake struck just south of the Kentucky-Tennessee border yesterday. The epicenter was about 2 miles away from Fincastle, Tennessee. It registered a 2.8 on the Richter scale, and that is where a 3.8 quake struck less than 1 month ago, rattling homes across eastern Kentucky.
Troopers with Kentucky State Police arrested 2 people on sex charges in Knox County yesterday. Investigators say these 2 people, 22-year-old Justin Adams and 19-year-old Angel Honeycutt, both from Barberville, quote, engaged with illegal sexual acts with a minor, unquote. Both face multiple charges, including Adams, who faces a second-degree rape charge, and Honeycutt with child pornography charges. Both were taken to the Knox County Detention Center.
Steady rain fell in the overnight hours, but finally starting to push out here. Some heavy bands still working through parts of the Big Sandy and Kentucky River and into parts of Southwest Virginia. But I think the bulk of the rain getting ready to move out a little bit earlier than expected. So that's some good news. Temperatures in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. They will continue to drop as we head throughout the rest of the day as a cold front swings through the region. So it's going to get chilly later. Maybe you can see a few snowflakes later tonight. The out the door forecast, be careful this morning because we're going to see that heavy rain start to wrap up here early, and then we'll see scattered showers for parts of the day before all this gets out of here and temperatures end up in the 30s by the nighttime hours. Madison.
Thank you, Brandon, and thank you for joining us on Mountain News this morning.
Here's a look at what's ahead.
Coming up, we'll tell you how the trade war has taken its toll on the American whiskey industry.